All right, so let's see. For today, we're going to be looking at trapezoids and kites. We're going to start looking at these figures, but we're going to be looking at angles to begin with. A few things that we should be paying attention on the trapezoid. Let me discuss what trapezoids look like first, and then I'll take a look at these 4 questions. First thing I do on a trapezoid, let me just draw on a trapezoid. We have 2 sides that are parallel. Let's assume those are parallel. So we have 2 sides that are parallel and then 2 sides that are not. Okay. On my trapezoids, when I'm looking at my angles, let me take a look at my 2 angles on the left. So I'm looking at this angle and this angle. Let me mark with different arcs. I can tell the angle on the top is more than 90 because I know an L shape is 90. So that one's more than 90. The angle at the bottom is less than 90. So they're definitely not equal. That's what I put different arcs. But let me say something very cool about these angles. Let's say the angle on the top was 100. I'm just going to use 100 as an example. And let me use the angle at the bottom as 80. I'm going to use an 80 as an example. The cool thing about these 2 angles is they add up to 180. That's the only cool thing about them. So let's say on the right side, if I had one of my angles was 110, I'll say the other angle has to be 70. Again, those 2 angles have to add up to 180. So let me do a plus to tell you they do add up to 180. Not that fun, but that's actually what they do. So that's it for trapezoids. There's one thing though. Notice how my angles on the left and the angles on the right don't have to be the same numbers. Unless, a big unless, I do something like this. Let me draw a trapezoid. If I do what we call isosceles trapezoid, if I mark my 2 sides there, if I mark and I say the 2 sides that are not parallel, we call those legs. If I say they're equal, then in that case, the 2 angles on the left do have to equal to the 2 angles on the right. So in this case, let's say this is 100, this is 80. On the other side, it has to be also 100 and then 80. So again, the 2 angles on the left add up to 180. The 2 angles on the right add up to 180. They don't have to be the same numbers on both sides unless my trapezoid is isosceles trapezoid. So let's take a look at our work. Question number 11. Solve for x. What I'm going to do, let me add those 2 angles because I know if I add them up equals to 180. So let me just add everything. So I'm going to go 60 plus 10x plus 10 is equal to 180. My instructions here are solve for x. So let me separate the sides through the equal sign. Let me combine my like terms on the left side. When it comes to letters, I only have 10x. When it comes to numbers without a letter, 60 plus 10 gives me 70. And I know all this is equal to 180. I want the 10x by itself, so this plus 70. Let me move it to the other side as a minus 70. Don't forget to switch the sign. So I have the 10x is equal to 110. Right, 180 minus 70 is 110. Now to get x by itself, let me divide both sides by 10. So I get that x is equal to 11. 110 divided by 10 is 11. Instructions were solved for x, so that's it. Let's take a look at question number 12. I know those 2 angles, if I add them up, equals to 180. So let me go 130 plus 7x minus 27 is equal to 180. Let me separate it through the equal side. Let me combine my like terms on the left side. When it comes to letters, I only have 7x. So just 7x. When it comes with numbers without a letter, I see 130 minus 27. So let me call that 103. Right, 130 minus 27 is 103. And I know all of this is equal to 180. I want the 7x by itself. So this plus 103, let me move it to the other side as a minus 103. Don't forget to switch the sign. So I have 7x equals 180 minus 103. That's 77. Now let me divide both sides by 7, and I get x is equal to 11. Fun. Let's take a look at number 13. It is an isosceles trapezoid, but I know that when I add these two angles, has to equal to 180. So I'm just gonna let me add everything. Let me just go 85 plus 18x plus 5 is equal to 180. Separate my sides to the equal sign. On the left side, let me combine my like terms. Letter-wise, I just have 18x. And then here I see 85 plus 5. Let me just call that 90. And all this is equal to 180. I want the term with the x by itself. So the plus 90, let me move it to the other side as a minus 90. So I have that 18x is equal to 180 minus 90. I know it's 90. To get x by itself, let me divide both sides by 18. 90 divided by 18 is 5. So x is equal to 5. Now, number 14. I know that these two angles add up to 180, but I only know one of them. On the other side, on the left side of my trapezoid, I know these two angles add up to 180, but I only know one of them. The interesting part, though, is that the angles on the left are equal to the angles on the right. So one thing, if the 85 was not here, let's say, because in some of your questions in your homework, the 85 will be there. If the 85 was on top, I will say the 85 is here. Those two angles are equal to each other. Okay, so you guys will have to move the 85 to the other side in some cases on your homework. Now, in this case, I'm going to say this 85-degree, this angle on the bottom, is equal to this other angle on the bottom. So I'm just going to write 85 is equal to 6x plus 25. So in this case, I'm not adding them equal to 180. This case, I'm going to let them equal each other. Okay, let me separate the sides to the equal sign. I want the 6x by itself. So this plus 25, let me move it over as a minus 25. I know 85 minus 25 is 60. So I have that 60 is equal to 6x. Let me divide both sides by 6. So 10, it's equal to x. So trapezoids are not that difficult. Now let's take a look at kites. But I'm going to look just at the angles on kites now. Let me draw a kite here at the side. We talk about kites at the two sides on the top, those are equal. The two sides at the bottom are equal to each other, not all four. But in this case, let me look at the diagonals. The diagonals are these segments inside the kite. So let me draw them in blue. Interesting part of the angles though, in the center of the kite, my two diagonals always intersect at 90 degrees. So the angle that my kites make there, it's 90 degrees. And my angles on the top and the angles at the bottom, they're cut in half. So let's say the angle on the top, just to say a number, let's say the angle on the top was 40. This will be broken into 20 and 20. The angle gets cut in half. Let's say the angle at the bottom, let's say that one, the whole thing was 60. So it will be 30 and 30. So the angle on the top and the angle at the bottom gets cut in half, not the angles of the sides. We can still figure the angles on the sides though. The reason why I said we can still figure out Because look, I get a triangle here, and we learned before that as long as I know two angles of a triangle, I can figure out the third one. The way I do that, I add the two angles that I have, in this case 90 plus 20, subtract that from 180, so it gives me 70. So this corner right here is 70. Let me show you this other angle at the bottom. I'm gonna show you something here. Let me do this as a blue triangle. I said the angles inside the kite, they're always 90 degrees. So I know two of my angles on the blue triangle, right? One angle is 90, the other angle is 30. Combined, right? 90 plus 30 is 120. But like I said, I combine the two angles that I have. Let me subtract that from 180, so I get 60. Now this third angle here, it is 60. Want you to see that the two angles on the side are not necessarily equal, right? We can see one of them is 70, the other one is 60. Only the angle on the top and the angle on the bottom. And to make it more interesting, I'm not going to have the kite standing up. I'm going to rotate him. So let's see. Let's take a look at number 15. Solve for the indicated measurement. The following are kites. We're looking for the measurement of angle WZX. Okay. I'm looking for this angle. If I connect the letters W, Z, and X, it makes this angle. I know this one right here. Let me see if I can fit it. Yeah, this angle right here is 26. I know this angle here is 90. I'm looking at a triangle. From that triangle, I know two angles. So I should be able to figure out the third one. When I combine the two angles that I know, 90 and 26, that's 116. Let me subtract that from 180. That happens to be 64. So this angle right here is 64. So my answer, right, the measurement of angle WZX, 64 degrees. I'm just going to write 64. Looking at question number 16. Interesting here. I only know one angle, and I'm looking at a triangle here. Still looking at a triangle here. I have been asked for the measurement of angle ABD. So that's this angle. Interesting part on this kite is that the side AD and the side AB are equal, right? Because it is a kite. Now that triangle looks like an isosceles triangle. Remember, isosceles triangle, two sides are equal, two angles are equal. When I look at this side, let me highlight this side, opposite angle is this one, right? When I look at this other side, the opposite angle is this one. I was looking at the opposite angles because those are the angles that are equal. Now, I don't know exactly how big they are. So I learned back in algebra, whenever we don't know the value of something, we replace it with the letter. So let me call it X. And let me call this one X as well, right? I label them the same way because they're equal. Now, looking at the triangle, it seems like I have measurements for the three angles. Let me add the three angles, X plus 40. And I know in a triangle, they all add up to 180. So cool. On the left side, let me combine my like terms. 1x plus 1x, that's 2x. So 2x plus 40, it's equal to 180. I want the 2x by itself. So the plus 40, let me move it over as a minus 40. So I have the 2x is equal to 140. Right, 180 minus 40 gave me 140. Want the x by itself, so let me divide everything by 2. So I get that x is equal to 70. So there, that angle that we were looking for, I called it x because I didn't know how big it was, but now we know it's 70 degrees. Okay, let me zoom out so you guys can see exactly what we did today.